Hey, I want to cut or D comment here. Time for another edition of Hobby Sports, Toku, and Anime. Today, let's talk about hobby sports again, and this has been a while since I did one that ain't Beyblade. But anyhow, let's talk about one of the more important hobby sports stuff that really is the definitive example of the term, Mini 4WD. You're probably going to yourself, wait, what? Because this is really a niche thing that no one knows outside of Japan and the Philippines. Yeah, Philippines. I'm not kidding with that. But anyhow, this was a card slot card thing, and basically it's very good. And basically this video is going to talk about all the chassis types because that's basically their systems for this line, but I will explain that when we go. So yeah, you split Mini 4WD into three eras. 1984 to 90 to the 93 as the original era, or the Dash Yamato series, which really is anything from that point in the product line, to Mini 4WD's more popular series, Let and Go, which basically is anything there, but I mean, to 1994 to 2000, and recently they started a third one, and if you saw my news reports, you know what I'm talking about briefly, which is basically Mini 4WD King, which I didn't say the name, but I talked about several little mech kit, like newer kits, but anyhow, those are your three main franchises, but really that's not the point. Now let's talk about the chassis, starting off with Type 1, which is basically track with one style, then the opposite with the second one being Type 2 being off-road one style, then version 2 off-road is Type 3, off-road Type 2 is 4, then there's FM chassis, which are front motors, Type 5, and now we're getting into the stuff that most people care. Zero chassis? Maybe, because I've seen reviews of it, links. Next up is the first of the Let and Go stuff to be introduced in their series, being the Super 1 chassis, which is very good. We will explain what Super 2 is later, but really, it's basically the quick type, the basic quick type, I like to say. Next up is Super FM, which is front motor base and focus like front motor. Yep. This upgrade for that. Then the TZ chassis, which is basically more technical and more aerodynamic, I think, if that's the best word to explain it. Yes. Then next up is the Super V chassis, being a Super V chassis, which is basically the TZX, which is kind of unfun. The X chassis, which is longer, basically the long type of the car, being way longer and uses a different shaft part, just to know. After that, the series ended briefly, then it officially kind of goes on and off of a series, starting with MS, which is based that. There's also Versus before, which is like a reboot of thing for Let It Go Max, but that series was short-lived. But really, V is kind of like not good. Like V is not really. Versus chassis is more faster, but way more fragile, like super fast, if that makes sense. And MS is 3 parts and very cut the bottom with Pro Motor. Then the sequel to Super 1 chassis, Super 2 chassis. Yep, that's the name. Next up is the MA chassis, which is like the modern, more normal version of the MAS chassis, just to know. Then after that, the next one is AR chassis, which is basically TZ chassis version 2, if that makes sense. And most of the modern chassis are all remakes of already existing chassis. So yeah, after AR, the next one is how to pronounce it, AMV or something, like I forget how you call it. Oh yeah, FMA. FMA, not FAM. That chassis is really like FM chassis, but now with modern engineering. Then VZ chassis for the current stuff. And that's all. They still use some chassis types depending on if it's needed or not. But anyhow, Mini 4WD is basically Beyblade's little pioneer grandfather. Even if Beyblade's like the grandchild. If that makes any the father. If that makes any sense of it. So yeah, Mini 4WD grandfather. Got that? Good. Hope you liked the video. Leave a comment down below if you're into me doing other Mini 4WD video. This is just a brief one about because it was the first hobby sport. I needed to explain it eventually. Got that? Good. Just come and saying bye-bye for now.